Hello, everyone. My name is Andrew Genovese, or Lionheart, and I'm going to be your guide for this short window of time. And I just want to thank you for being here. And what we're going to get into is really just an overview of all the ways that people get enslaved to their mind and their thoughts and their belief systems, and what keeps them in the same perpetual state of spinning in this hamster wheel over and over again while feeling deeply frustrated that there seems no way out and they can't get out of this perpetual cycle. So before I begin, I'm going to share a little bit of my story and where I've been. So for many years, I've been of service to thousands of people all over the world, helping them, work through their blocks with breath work, with somatic practices, so many different things, and studied much about plant medicine, the human body, health, energy, all of it. And so here I was constantly sharing all these practices, and all these practices that come into our body and help us move energy are all extremely important. And there is a missing component in things like breath work or things like plant medicine that miss us truly excavating and removing what is not true and what is keeping us in that hamster wheel of unworthiness and frustration. And I know what it's like because I was there for many years. I was going to many of these modalities, and while I was unpeeling layers, there was still something deeper that was being asked of me. And consciously, I was saying, I want to be free. I desire to be free. But the unconscious part of myself and the mind, the ego, was keeping me small, was keeping me in anxiety, was keeping me in overwhelm, keeping me in a perpetual state of fear and lack and scarcity. And it was not until I went into the unconscious to feel and do the shadow work and do the inner child work and all the work that is truly required to free ourselves. And here's the thing, many people don't actually know that they're running from this work because there's a part of us that wants to be free. The shadow aspect of us loves the turmoil. It loves the chaos. It loves being stuck in shame, guilt, and freaking unworthiness spirals and continuing to loop and spiral in these programs and distortions. But they're not true. They're not our true essence. And as we continue to remove all of these things, there comes a level of clarity, knowing, embodiment, and just freedom of finally being able to be used as this God divine channel that finally is accessible when we're willing to go to the deepest places in our psyche, into the unconscious that's driving the vast majority of our entire life. So if you are here, you are probably looking to improve in your life. If you're here, you're probably knowing that there's so much more for you. You might be a health practitioner, you might be a coach, you might be an acupuncturist, you might be someone who is working with psychology or quantum physics or something within this spiritual journey that is helping people become more of themselves. But until we take radical ownership of our life, and anywhere that we feel stuck, there's a reason. There's something there that's preventing us from receiving the beautiful partner, the abundance, the multiple properties, right? So what's in the way? So I'm going to go over the 4 pillars of the reclamation and what this journey looks like as we dive deep into the psyche and deep into the unconscious of all that is getting in the way from us stepping into our true infinite potential. Okay, so pillar 1 is healing the central nervous system. The reason we start at healing the central nervous system is, well, it's where healing starts and it's where trauma starts. So it's where healing starts, it's where trauma starts. The central nervous system is the electrical wiring to our entire body. So if from our childhood we were constantly in a state of fight, flight, or freeze, just constantly in a place of not feeling safe, right? The body remembers. The body is highly, highly intelligent, and it remembers all of those times where we weren't safe. We didn't have space to express anger and rage and sadness and guilt. And all of those times were memories in the body that were continued to be stored because at that age, we weren't able to process all of those different series and waves of emotions, right? So as we get older, there comes a time where we need to process these emotions. And through healing our central nervous system, we start to build capacity. We start to come back to homeostasis. We start to hold what God truly wants to bestow upon us. Many of us might feel victim to our reality because we're like, no matter how hard I try, I'm stuck in the same place. It's your central nervous system. Once we bring our nervous system back to homeostasis and we're not feeling triggered all the time, we're not constantly irritated, we're not anxious, overwhelmed, in a perpetual state from morning until night, and we come into our natural state, which is ease, love, peace. That is who we truly are. And so this work is the foundation for the work that we do here in the Reclamation, and really just allowing you to have a sturdy foundation for everything that is to come after that. So pillar 2 is healing the inner child. This is some of the most important work that we'll ever do on the planet. Many adults that are in their 30s, 40s, and even 70s, the adult, them, is in the driver's seat, is in the passenger seat. The inner child is in the driver's seat. And the inner child is making all the decisions, calling all the shots, is moving through the adult through the lens of wounded and scared and fearful and anxious, right? So when we take time to acknowledge our inner child and make this connection through this inner child sacred exchange process, this dialogue that we make every single day with the inner child, day after day, week after week, we start to feel the inner child come alive and get excited because finally, all those times where they weren't seen, they weren't acknowledged, they weren't witnessed, they were scared, they were just wanting to be held by someone and seen, we start to give them all those things that they never got. We start to communicate with them. We start to reassure them. We start to let them know that you're never going to abandon them. And this work truly is the game changer because no longer are we being dictated by all these unconscious programming from teachers, from parents, from family members that are governing how we show up in the world. Perfect example, right? The person that's wanting to do a video, that's wanting to put themselves out there, that's wanting to do an Instagram Live or a Facebook Live. They go to do it, but they freeze. Like, why is that, right? That is the fear of being seen, which is one of the deepest inner child wounds, the fear of being seen. And that comes from a deep place of being shamed when we were expressing our authenticity as a child, right? It comes from telling us to dim our light, to be quiet, to not be too loud, so many different places. But ultimately, we find ourselves scared of being seen because of how we're going to be perceived, if someone's going to judge us, if someone's going to chastise us, if someone is not going to approve of who we are and how we show up, right? So when we do this work and we go into the inner child and we start to make that communication that they don't have to be scared anymore, they don't have to be in this perpetual state of anxiety, overwhelm, fear, everything starts to shift. Everything starts to open up. And this is some of the most profound, important work we'll do in our lifetime. And so that's pillar 2. Okay, so pillar 3 is healing the mother and father wound. Vast majority on the planet of people on the planet were raised by parents who were not conscious. So even for someone who deeply loved their mom, deeply loved their dad, they were still being projected onto on a daily basis through their conditioning from their parents, through their parents, right? Going down the line, ancestrally continued to be passed down. So when we start to heal our mother and father wound, we start to feel into a lot of anger, grief, sadness, frustration, rage. It starts to come up when we bring everything to the table. And so as we start to feel these emotions and come into them, we start to transform many of those dense emotions such as anger and rage into deep love, understanding, compassion, right? Softness, being able to see our mom and dad beyond their physical body and see them as a soul, as the divine perfection that they are. This is such profound work because the majority of us are carrying a mother and a father wound, and it might be deeper on one side or the other. But once we do this work, we allow the feminine and the masculine to continue to unify. And no longer will we be projecting onto our partner, projecting onto our kids, needing our wife or our husband to save us, to be the safe space that we need. Because when we start to heal that mother and father wound, we start to go into the reparenting, giving ourselves all the things we never got because of our parents' lack of awareness, our parents' lack of consciousness. We start to give that to ourselves. We start to fill that space, fill those voids, and give ourselves everything that we really needed during those times when we didn't feel safe, when we didn't feel nurtured, when we didn't feel seen or witnessed, and many times when we just felt isolated and alone. And this work is also so foundational, also tied to money. Why so many people in the spiritual community are living in deep lack frequency and scarcity, right? So when we start to heal the mother and father wound, also opens up a whole nother world pertaining to wealth, abundance, prosperity, and new opportunities. All right. So the last and final pillar, and quite possibly my favorite, is healing and reconciling the shadow. So I would say I love this pillar the most because when people start to get this, it's a light bulb that goes off. A new level of knowing and awareness of how they were perceiving God, the darkness, the collective shadow, and life itself starts to completely transform. Because no longer are they constantly judging everything that is dark, everything that is shadowy, and that's outside and within and internally. So this work is so powerful, so life-changing because there's nothing to hide. We're not hiding behind shame, guilt, parts of ourselves that we feel, oh my God, like if I let people know this about me, I would literally die. False. You would actually be liberated because we cannot heal, we cannot step into our true soul sovereignty while deeming parts of ourselves that are just unlovable and unworthy. We'll never come into that God level full embodiment without reclaiming every aspect of ourselves that we're afraid of and that we're afraid to feel and see and bring to the light, because that's ultimately what it's wanting to do. It's wanting to be seen. It's wanting to come to the light. And truth be told, many of us have been in a deep cocoon of isolation, and now it's time to come back together and heal in community like we've been doing around the fire for thousands and thousands of years. Dancing around the fire, ecstatically moving, shaking, being seen and witnessed by the members in our tribe, our community. And that's something that's deeply missing in our society when we get to be seen, heard, and witnessed. And that's where some deep, profound, and some of the deepest healing happens when we're being witnessed by our peers and our brothers and sisters. So the last thing I'll say, you guys, is, there is so many get-rich scheme programs out there, and, make X amount of money in this amount of time, and the first 30 days, make 20K. It's like, yes, that's out there. Manifest your dreams. Where we have a planet that's obsessed with manifestation. Yet, many people don't want to actually do the work, so what they're manifesting is a direct science that magnetizes to them because there's nothing in the subconscious and the unconscious that tells them that they don't deserve it, that tells them that they're not worthy of it. And so this work really is the game changer, and it is some of the most important work that we'll do in our lifetime when we open up the floodgates and we open up these doors. And it's deeply exciting, and we start to feel this level of freedom. We start to taste what it's really like to be us and who we truly are, and truly feel connected to our body, connected to our mind, connected to our heart, most importantly. And that's ultimately what we're doing. It's a journey from the mind to the heart, and being able to distinguish which one is which. and the feelings, the emotions, the sensations in the body. Because as we release all that we're not neck deep in emotions, which are energy and motion. We're not knee deep in just confusion and trapped energy that's just boiling, that manifests as disease and sickness and so many different gut issues, right? Gut issues are all energetic. As we start to do this work, worlds open up that we never knew existed. And life starts to get really fun, really exciting. And we start to learn to really master this earth game. And I can tell you that it is deep work and it is some of the most rewarding work that we'll do in our lifetime. So everyone, I just want to thank you for listening to this video and tuning in. And I hope this was of service to you. And I just want to say I look so forward to being with you on the call and spending some intimate time together. Sending so much love to you.